Hey everyone, it's Tango Oscar Mike, and I'm just outside here for a little bit, letting Augie run around and chase some squirrels. He's going to get all muddy, and then he's going to get his nails done, then he's going to get a shower. So tomorrow is field day, but before I talk about this coming weekend, I'm going to talk about last weekend. Last weekend I was privileged to take an AuxComm class. Now, I've been the emergency areas coordinator for my county for quite some time, and there's really no official training or official requirements, at least none that ever been pushed on me. But I have done some of the training. I've done the ICS 100, 200, 700, and 800. I also took the ARRL AuxComm course, which is what, AC 001. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this was a in-person course. In fact, the AuxComm course is an in-person course only. And it was put on by CISA, which is the Cybersecurity Infrastructure and Security Agency, and specifically the Emergency Communications Department, Department of Emergency Communications, I believe, of CISA. And it was held at the State Police Training Facility, which is here in Pennsylvania. Normally it would be about an hour and 15-minute drive for me, but it took almost 2 hours because we had a really bad snowstorm. I went out Friday night. The class didn't start until Saturday, but it started at 8 o'clock Saturday morning. And knowing that we were getting a snowstorm and not knowing what the conditions would be like Saturday morning, I decided to go out Friday. I waited until after what I thought would be rush hour and went. And I was in four-wheel drive pretty much the entire way. The highway was covered in most places, and we didn't get going faster than maybe 40 miles an hour the whole way. So it took a bit longer. So Saturday morning I went over to the State Police Training Center. They had a classroom set up, and we had the course there. And the course is for auxiliary communications. And part of ICS, part of the FEMA training and all that, is the incident command structure. And in that structure, what pertains to amateur radio and communications in general is the COM-L, or COM leader, a COM-T, which is a communications technician. There's some other positions in there, but the AuxComm, or auxiliary emergency communications area, or the auxiliary emergency communication manager. And that's kind of what the class was focused on. We weren't bringing any ham radios. In fact, we were told not to bring any ham radios. We were told not to wear any labeling or uniforms or badges that say like Aries or any other department that you work for. I went to this class because I was sponsored by the county, the Department of Public Safety, who we volunteer for, and they offered the class and said they would sponsor me, so I went. And it was a very good class. There were other people there from other counties and other agencies, including somebody from CISA who was there to observe the class and learn. The SWIC, which is the statewide interoperability coordinator, was there. She came and spoke to everybody about what was going on, and basically they're trying to get more people certified. And and first off, this class does not certify you. It's a 20-hour class. It doesn't certify you, but what it does is it makes you officially a trainee. And then there's something called the Position Task Book, or PTB, that you have to complete, which is a bunch of practical exercises and practical experiences that you have to be evaluated on by a COM-L or higher position in the ICS infrastructure. So the class was really good. The instructors were really good. One is they were both national trainers. One was from California and the other one is from Kentucky. They both had a world of experience that they shared with us during this whole thing, and it was very eye-opening. There were practical exercises. They broke the class up into different groups, and we would get a situation that had occurred, an emergency situation, and we were given a list of resources that were available to us. And then we were giving a task list, which was basically the CommL asking us to perform a certain task to provide communications. And they were very specific. And the first exercise we did, we all bombed it. We all got criticized really bad. We had to fill out ICS 205 sheets, and everybody kind of didn't quite properly fill them out the way they're supposed to be filled out. And the instructors gave us a lot of criticism. We also reviewed a lot of the ICS structure with the instructors. They were quizzing on us right from the very beginning. And unless you had recently done those ICS courses and really let that material sink in, you probably weren't getting a lot of their questions right. But it was really good. We did several of those exercises throughout the weekend, and our final test was another exercise like that we had to perform. And everybody did really good, and even the instructors said how much of a difference we had come from the very beginning. For my group, I was doing the ICS 205 forms electronically and filling them out. And the instructor would put them up on the screen and critique everybody in front of the class. And sometimes it was good critiques, and other times it was bad critiques, and people needed to improve. But it was a really good course. And now I am back home, and I talked to my contact at the Department of Public Safety, Department of Public Safety, and he's willing to do my evaluations for my position task book. So I need to start preparing some of the stuff. Some of the stuff is done virtually, just by talking to them, or that kind of thing. And the other part of it is in person, like during an exercise. They need to watch me and evaluate me. Some of it's really simple, like making 2 HF contacts on 2 separate bands, which we do that all the time. This course was not an equipment course. It was not, here's my Go kit with radios and everything, and this is how I'm going to communicate. It was more the planning side, the staffing, and following the unity of command to perform your tasks and get them accomplished with what resources you had. One group in the class got in trouble because they decided, since they had access to resources that would solve the issue better than what was the resources provided in the exercise, they injected those resources into their exercise and kind of negated the requests from the CommL. So it was very strict. It's understanding where your position is, and you just don't do something because you think you can do it better. You do what was requested of you. Obviously, there's feedback and compromises or whatever. But if you go to a scene to respond and you're being asked to do a task, your intent is to do that task. I'm sure the military structure is very similar. So, but I am working on it. One of the first tasks that's in my task book is to create a Go kit. And this isn't a get home bag or a bug out bag. This is a deployment bag, a bag that you can grab in short notice and respond to a ICC or Incident Command Center or an EOC or anywhere else. So basically the idea of this is, you're home sleeping, you get a call in the middle of the night that says, hey, there's been a train derailment and they're evacuating people, and in a county 2 hours away from you, can you respond? And you get the incident number or whatever and all the pertinent information. You get up, you make sure your family's taken care of, and then you grab your bag and you go. And then when you get to where you're going, you check in. You have this bag that has your any forms you might need to fill out during the exercises, like ICS 204s, 215s, or 214s, activity logs. There's 309s, radio logs, all kinds of forms that you might have in a binder that you can take with you to fill out. Reference materials like the NIFOG or the National Interoperability Operations Guide, AuxComm manuals, Aries field manuals, whatever that might help you in your position. A 2-meter radio is generally assumed that you would have a 2-meter radio. That way, just if nothing else, you have basic communication abilities. But you're not supposed to take any equipment with you unless requested, because with an incident, the incident, especially if it goes on for a long period of time, you may be relieved of duty, and anything you brought with you may become part of that exercise, and it might not be able to leave with you. And you know how hams are about leaving their equipment and letting other people use that equipment. So you don't take anything unless it's requested of you. And if you do, then you assume that equipment is part of the incident until it's over. So it may be some time before you get your equipment back, etc. But obviously when you leave that equipment, you sign it over to somebody else, and either you get it back or assume you'd get reimbursed for it. But that's what this bag's for. So it is a go kit for deployment. In that kit, there's some suggested items that you would have. The one thing that they do talk about is standardizing on AA batteries. For their size and weight, AA batteries are the most efficient. So a lot of agencies have standardized on the AA batteries, and they stock up on them. So your flashlight, your headlamp, even your radio, they suggest getting a radio that has a clamshell that you can run it on 2A batteries. Rechargeable items are great, but the problem with those, if it's a long extended event and you're in the field for a long time and your flashlight goes dead or your radio goes dead, I'm sure we all have solar panels and stuff that we can recharge them, but you still have to set it aside so you can take the time to recharge that item. And if you can't recharge it, then it's dead. So that's the whole reason for the AA batteries and standardizing on those. So, but also in there is your personal safety equipment, meaning your PPE, masks, gloves, whether they're work gloves or rubber gloves, first aid kit, any medicines you might have, hygiene stuff, and some very basic change of clothes like fresh socks, underwear, maybe a clean shirt, a pair of pants or something. But it's assumed that if you're there for an extended period of time, you could at least take the clothes you have on off, wash it, hang it up to dry somewhere, and you would have at least another set of clothes with you so you could run. Typically in an incident, incident periods are normally 12 hours, so it's normally like a 12-hour shift. Again, this is emergency operations, so you may be expected to work a 12-hour shift. You may be off for 12 hours and then go back for another 12-hour shift. But the idea is that you at least have stuff to take care of yourself during that time frame. But yeah, there's several suggested items to put in there. An outlet tester for the wall, because you never want to plug anything, your laptop or your chargers, into an outlet that you haven't tested, because in an emergency situation it may be running off a generator, it might not be running properly, maybe reverse, something like that. You don't want to blow out all your equipment. But the basic stuff. Something to charge your phone with. You can carry a lot of reference material on your phone, which is nice. So you have to have a way to recharge your phone, all that kind of stuff. And I'll kind of go over the kit that I have so far. You also might need some stuff for labeling, markers, forms to sign to hand out equipment, contact lists, repeater information, whatever you might need should be in that kit to support that event. So I'll be going over that more in the future. But something I did learn during this class is Aries was pretty not mentioned at all, except for to say that Aries is more of a club level volunteer program, whereas the AuxComm, or auxiliary communications, which is now pretty much the standard for government agencies, is the, I don't want to say professional, but more along the lines of the certified responders. So that's kind of what it was. That's what I'm getting into. And I've always been that type of person that I want to help people, especially if they're in a time of need, and I'm able to do that. I was a firefighter. I think I mentioned that once before. I was a certified firefighter, certified rescue diver. I was an EMT for quite a few years. Did a lot of that, and a lot of my family members were in it too, so we all kind of did it. And then, you know, my father retired, and I got married and moved out here in the country, and but that's why I have first aid kits all over the place, and that's why I still look at first aid instructions, instructional stuff, training, that kind of stuff, to kind of stay up to date. And it's allowed me to help Augie when he's got injured. It's allowed me to help people be at a restaurant and be able to respond to somebody having an issue, that kind of stuff. So if I can help somebody, that's kind of the thing. And the reason you train is that not if there's an incident in your area. Obviously, if something happens here, a tornado goes through and destroys my neighborhood, this is where I'm going to be. I'm going to be here helping my neighbors and everything else. But if there's an emergency somewhere else that doesn't affect my home and my family, I might be able to go there and lend a hand and help them out. And that's what the state's trying to do, is to try to get more people that are certified, so they better know how to act and participate in those types of incidents. So it was really good training. It really had a big impact on me, and I'm gonna do my best and see, you know, if see what I can contribute. But I think that's all. Hey, this is Tango Oscar Mike saying 73, and take care.